consumes you in the most positive way.
You know what? I've been thinking I was going to put this out as a tweet yesterday and I forgot, which is, I wonder how many coaches dream about coaching.
I think everybody.
And how often, like, just, I don't know, it's the past like 3, 4, 5 months, I find it's now, it's like a regular thing, like 3, 4 times a week. I'll wake up and just have been dreaming about coaching sessions, and just bizarre. Like, you're right, it does just, it kind of, it does overtake you, right? You're either preparing to run a session, running a session, thinking about the session you've just run and how you can make it better, and then as soon as that's over, you're on to thinking about the next one. It's kind of this on.
Oh, but I thought that we were perfect as coaches, and we know that when we run something, it's perfection, right?
I think I'm still trying to. I've cut down the number of things I do now, and I'm just trying to get good at a few of them. So.
Yes, that's.
What ages do you coach, Joe?
I coached the 2010 to 2009 and 10, basically.
Okay, cool. That's
boys and girls.
Boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, I got a 2009 girl for you. That's okay. Yeah, that's my 2010-11 is currently that's my favorite kind of age group.
Yeah, they're right there at the cusp. Like, they ask you good questions.
Yep.
And they listen to you.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like.
Yeah, you can still kind of mold them and influence. Yes. Yeah, they're not those teenagers yet. Yeah,
I can feel like I can screw them up properly.
Yeah, I can really mess these guys up good. So.
I'm like, really good. No.
How what's your club look like?
It's a small club. It's not mine. I coach there. They're small. They have 3 boys teams, and they have the girls team, which I started.
Wow. Okay. So that this is a new thing for me. This is the first time I think anyone in Canada or America has said to me, I'm at a small club, and actually described a small. Usually it's like, yeah, we got like 700-800 kids, and I'm like.
No, I meant it. There is a 2012, 10, and 9 boys side. And I've been trying to start the girls program. And finally, we had just started putting something together pre-COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And COVID exploded. And then now, finally, that we got back to playing a little bit, I've been able to put a team together. So now I'm starting the program for them for the girls side.
Oh, that's awesome. And is it going to look pretty much the same as what you do for the boys' side?
No, because if they leave me alone, no, it will not look anything like it at all.
How are you going to make it different? And why?
Well, to start, I'm not going to yell at them.
Come on, little girls love that.
I can't. Well, a little bit of yelling is fine, but not the King Kong type of yelling.
So not Antonio Conte.
No, definitely not that. No, I'm more interested in because these girls are. I just met them, so they're really new. So I'm still kind of figuring out how to approach them yet. Literally, yesterday was our first practice all together. How many do we have? 10. I have 10 girls.
Okay. Good, well done.
So I'm really excited. We just started. I knew a few of them from before, but I'm still figuring them out.
I've been trying to get a girls program going for 4 or 5 years. Like, finally this year we've started.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it because they're smart girls and they're very quiet, but they're thinkers.
Yeah, you tend to find that with the girls. They are more. I tend to find the girls. It's more. They work as a team more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I like and what I've noticed that really pissed me off from before, from seeing boys or other teams, is how much they dismiss the girls.
Oh.
And not these particular girls, I'm saying in general. And it's one of the things that I found while making the movie too, is just like how many parents, it's like, the girls, fuck it. But the boys, I have Messi on my team, you know?
Yeah.
Even though he's at 340 pounds and he's 7 years old, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, he's not gonna be Messi. But with the girls, I found that one of the things I really want to focus on with them is the mental part, is to make them, to empower them as much as I can, but not from a feminist perspective, but from a, hey, you're just as big as they are or important as they are. You know, I want you to be thinking on the field. You don't want to hear me yakking at you, right? And they said, no, coach. I was like, well, I want you to work together. And it was so amazing because in the first game, I told them, I tried it. This was the first time I tried it. I was like, screw it, I'm going to try it. And so I walked to the field. Mind you, like I told you, I hadn't even met half of these girls.
Okay.
So I literally, they were lined up looking at me, waiting for coach, where I'm going to play. Coach, what do we do? I said, you know what? I want to play tonight, 3, 2, 1. We play 7v7. And they said, okay. And I said, so that means 3 defenders, 2 mid, 1 forward. Okay, coach. So where am I going to play? I looked at them. I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're in. You 2. I had 2 on the bench or 3 on the bench. You guys come on the bench with me, and you figure out wherever you want to go. I said, one of them was for sure the goalie. So I said, you play goalie. And you 6, you figure it out. And I walked away, and they were like, wait, what? And within seconds, they were like, okay, you go over there, I'm going to stay here, you there, and they figured it out.
And I've seen that, like we've done that a few times as well. And I always hear from the argument to that is always, right, well, yeah, but you'll end up with 6, 7 strikers, right? Or 7 forwards. But when you actually do it, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't. I mean, they literally did what I didn't even say anything. All I told them was like, hey, I would like to try 3, 2, 1. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Just, I think
there's a lot of coaches out there that are afraid to give younger, kids more ownership of the game. It's almost like, well, if I do that, then that means I'm not a coach. Or, do you know what I mean? It's very reflective of the person versus what lessons are they learning from when you say, figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
That's if we don't really care so much about winning at this stage, and it's about development and everything, then what is wrong with letting them figure that out? Yeah, I always hear that. Oh, yeah, but you can't do that because everyone wants to play forward. No, they don't.
And even if I told them, I said, look, because one of the girls said, well, somebody was yelling at me. I said, was I the one yelling at you? And she said, no, you didn't. I said, well, if it doesn't come from me, it doesn't exist. And she was like, oh, okay. And she was so happy I said that because she's like, oh, Dad, just listen to you. Like, okay, perfect. Go back in and do whatever. But my favorite one, you're going to love this one. I got caught into the moment. And so I had like 3v1 and there were 2 of the girls were offside by 4 miles. And so one girl is going at the 1 and she goes by him. And I start telling him, don't pass, because I didn't want to ruin the moment, right? And then I think we scored on that play. I don't even remember. And then I realized, I was like, wait, what am I telling that girl? Because I don't think she realized what am I saying by saying don't pass, right? Because I don't think she saw that it was offside. I don't think she even realized offside was even in the cards. And then I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? And so I called the girl. I said, hey, listen, hold on. Let me make sure we understand why I said don't pass. But it was so funny. Like, you catch yourself and you go, oh, man, what did I say?
Right. I mean, that's another thing that I think we have to do more of as coaches, right? Is when we make a mistake is own it. And then also explain to the player here. That's just, yeah, that's why I said it. Yeah. Good. How did they have fun? They enjoyed their first game?
They had a ball. I think they did. I mean, we won the game, so that was always helpful.
Yeah.
But they had a great time. I mean, and they came back from practice last night, and they were all there, and they were like focused, and they were smiling, and they were like, okay. It's like I said, I'm happy with you. They're very cute girls. I mean, sweet girls, and they seem like they want to learn, and that to me is the most fun, because I've noticed that a lot of them have very low self-esteem.
Right.
Like too many of them.
I mean, we have a whole new bunch of girls, and our girls thing's really taken off right now, and we've had them for about 2-3 months now, and they're different, like little creatures. Like to start with, they didn't want to play with the boys, and I'm very big on, no, we treat you the same.
Oh yeah,
you are more than capable of playing with the boys, and
especially at this age.
Especially at this age, because I mean, I have one girl that's she's 2011. She's nearly as tall as me. So, like, physically, there's no real reason why not to, but they went through this phase at the beginning, right, where they didn't want to play with the boys at all. And then I made them, right? We kind of integrated them. Then they played with the boys, and we did co-ed. And now they've got to the point where they're like, well, can we have a girls-only team and play against them? And I'm like, sure, let's give it a go. But they're definitely, they are more, different approaches for boys and girls. I find they're more, I have some girls that'll get right in front of the goal, and instead of shooting, they'll pass it. So I find with the girls, I have to actively encourage them more to be not selfish, but
I know what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean, right? Like, take that player on, give it a go. Hey. You can do it. Whereas the boys, it's like, are you ever gonna pass the ball ever?
Yeah.
Like,
do you know what passing is?
Yeah. So
I know, it's like.
So I see you keep posting this thing about, like, what do you got going on here? Like, are you making a documentary, a film? Because I see you post a tweet, and I keep looking at it going, all right, what's this guy up to? Like, what's that all about?
Well, a lot of what you were talking about, really. We're doing a movie on youth sports, and the idea of the movie is we need to bring the focus back on the fucking kids.
Okay.
Because the adults are screwing it up. And it's not just a matter of having fun, which is huge, obviously. They have to have fun. If not, what the hell is the point? And it's not just for soccer, it's any sport.
Okay, so it's going to be like more than
one.
Yeah.
Because the idea is also to show not just one aspect. It's not just about the crazy parent or the crazy coach or the crazy whatever. No, it's not about the money. No, it's not just that. It's about the system. The system that doesn't really develop anybody. Maybe it never did. Maybe we lived in a la la land before. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. I'm not sure. I wasn't alive, obviously, back then. Whatever back then means. But I know when I was growing up, my parents from Italy, my parents never came to see me play. It wasn't even like, but I didn't even think that was a thing.
Would you, can you imagine like going back in time and I know I'm the same with my parents. Can you imagine telling your mom and dad they have to sit and watch your practices in the cold?
Oh no, they would be like, fuck you, I'm going back to the... But you know what I'm saying? It's like, it was just like, I remember my mom would always come because she would pick me up. So she would, 5 minutes before practice ends, she would show up and I would see her in the corner of my eyes or something. She would just sit somewhere in a corner and just wait for practice to be over. But it was never like, because she was picking me up and she arrived a few minutes early. I mean, it wasn't like she was sitting there for 3 hours. It was just...
So are you kind
of... No parents of mine, no friend of mine, they didn't have the parents there either. Like, nobody had parents.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Is that your background, Joel? Like filmmaking and...
Yeah, that's what my main thing. But like I said, then I started coaching, and that's been, I fell in love with it. So I figured, let me put the two together, and it can come up really good.
And how far along are you with the film so far? Like,
Well, we started shooting, and then COVID started.
gotta love COVID.
Which is like fucking COVID. So we can, we have a couple of trailers. We have some videos that we put up, some interviews I was able to do via Zoom. Some we did in person before. Some I did on Zoom, and I posted them. And of course, hopefully they'll be in the movie. But the idea, the main concept at the end of the day is, I don't want this to be a bitch fest. So this movie is not going to be, you do, you bad boy, you bad. No, that's not it. The idea is to show what can we do to do
Yeah,
better.
and I think that's kind of I'm probably guilty of it myself as well at times on Twitter, right? Is bitching about shit that we know is wrong, but not really providing any solution.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you do provide it, because like you're one of the few that post actually things that could be helpful. Because so many times, and probably it's because you're not from US. Because yesterday I spoke to a former soccer player, professional soccer player, and I asked her a couple of questions. She's from Italy, and she was giving me like a dissertation. And I don't know her. I met her yesterday on Zoom for the first time, right? And here in town, I've asked people, hey, I'm struggling with whatever, or I don't know what to do for this. Can you? Nope. Like, I'm not.
Do you think it's because you're close to them though? Like, and they're
but this lady, I don't even know who she is until yesterday we met for the first time. I mean, we emailed a couple of times, and she was like giving me like, what do you need to know? I'll tell you anything you want.
I think that's easier when you're at a distance, right? Like when it's the guy
I get
down
that.
the road, like.
Yeah, but I mean, I've even other people that I started to meet, whether it's via Twitter or via in person, and then we went from Twitter to in person, but they're not from the US. They always find they're more willing to share information, help out, or give advice, or talk about something together, and kind of like figuring it out. I know.
What are you with the film? Like what? So you said you're looking at different youth sports. Obviously, is there anything, any one or two, three things that you're seeing as a common problem or issue across?
Yes, coaching, parents, money, and overuse.
Like playing
injuries, injuries, too many games,
okay.
Those are across the board. And it's kind of interesting how they are, because they are it's kind of amusing to me that they're the same problems in all. I mean, I've talked to people from cheerleaders to soccer, football, baseball, basketball, same thing. Hockey, I talked to a lady today that she's a hockey player. She plays hockey. All the same story. Parents, money, coaching, same thing. And too many to get hurt, injuries, playing too much.
Yeah, it's funny that you kind of talk about like the system, how it was, right? And I think like my thought is we see now, right, that the players today, like professional level, are so much better than they used to be. Mm-hmm. But really, that's just comparative, right? The system has always developed professional players, and they've always been better than everyone else. It's just it's not like the system now is developing more. It's just,
no,
I kind of think about basketball, right? I mean, when I first ever watched basketball, there was only a few players, right, that could do what Michael Jordan could do. Now, like every player can do that. And it's kind of the same in soccer, right? It's like, well, back in the day, there was only a few players that could dribble and do. Now, pretty much every player can do that. But how much of that is, like you said, how much of that is the system, and how much of that is just evolution?
I think it's probably evolution for the most part, because I don't think, with very few exceptions, I can't think of a system that does it in most countries, especially because to me, like, for example, I was talking to the soccer player yesterday, and she said, what bothers me is I watch the US, the women play, and she's like, I'm looking at these players, that's what she's saying, and they should be dominating, they should be winning every game 10-0, they should be playing this beautiful soccer, because look at all the talent, all the athleticism, the speed. I mean, they can do so many things, and what do? They put 5 in the back and play the 70s Italian style soccer, where you put everybody in the box and then counterattack, like they did in the World Cup. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's pretty much how they play in the US, because they don't develop, or they don't encourage the 1v1s. They don't encourage the technical play.
I mean, I think if you look at part of the problem I see, or I think that we have, is that over here we have, look at the participation, like the sheer numbers, and they've definitely done that part right in terms of growing the game.
Totally.
I mean, absolutely world class at growing the game and getting that many new kids over the last 30 years involved. But are they maximizing what they're doing with them? Because I watched the last Women's World Cup, and I am not a soccer. I don't watch a lot of soccer, but I think from what I watched, you can see the writing is on the wall. Like the England women's team, Holland, France, they are catching up at a lightning pace.
I think they've caught up already. And one offside call in that game with England, the US lose that game.
But I think it's almost like in our DNA over here, right? That we can win by just being bigger and having more. Like that's why we have these massive clubs. We haven't kind of embraced that I'm going to get the most out of a very little bit.
Well, it's almost like because eventually if you have whatever the number is, 10 million girls, whatever it is, playing, by sheer number, you're bound to find somebody good in there, right? I mean, at some point,
if you had a system or a development and coaching system that was equal, you should be 10 times better.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're bound to find someone who's any good by accident.
Yeah.
So that's what I think they're doing right now. It's literally by accident. Because they don't, I mean, when you look at the UK ladies or the Italy ladies, France, who's ridiculously talented, Spain, etc., Germany, China, Japan.
I love watching Japan. I think their women's team is phenomenal.
It's incredible. The way they move that ball, the technique, the level of ability, it's astronomical.
I think the other thing is that these other countries, or maybe what we don't realize over here, right, is it's relatively new for a lot of these countries that they have not been seriously putting any investment or effort into women's soccer until maybe 5 or 10 years. I mean, I know when I left England 20 years ago, girls and women's soccer was non-existent. It did not exist.
Yeah, and look at now. You have Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea. I mean, easily some of the best clubs in the planet for women, right? And then you have Lyon in France, and you have all of these other clubs, and now the American players are going over there.
Finally.
And it should be the exact opposite. They should come over here. And yet the girls are going over there.
Yeah.
So that tells you all you need to know. But the difference, I think, is those girls in Europe, they grew up soaking it up. So they know the game. The girls over here, and maybe in Canada, I don't know, they did not grow up watching, hearing, listening, going to the game. They have not done that. So, I mean, the girls in the UK grew up watching everything.
We have huge numbers in girls soccer, which is fantastic. But I think a lot of our success was due to Canadian women like the America, US, they were early adopters. They were 25 years ago, but they were taking it more seriously. Now I see
No, and that's the thing.
a
It's
lot
like,
of the top Canadian females, they're playing, I think Janine Becky, she plays at Man City. Younger Jordan
City.
Heitema, she's at Paris. That's where they're going. Yeah, we've been at it longer.
But I think that's a huge difference when they soak it in, they feel it, they live it. So when you tell them, okay, now go play, they know what they're doing because it's in their head, just like the boys. Which here they don't have that cultural understanding of the game. They don't watch the game. They don't talk about the game. They don't breathe the game. They don't live for the game. They don't have that. And we do back home.
Yeah.
And so I think
when do you think the movie's going to be out?
I don't know, because unfortunately this COVID thing is messing us up. I mean, because there's not much, I can't travel. I guess technically I could, but I don't feel like getting sick. So we can't do much. And so we're kind of waiting. And
there was really good movie documentary. I think it was called The Cost of Winning. I'm not sure if you've seen that one.
I think so, yes.
That was
Who did that one?
It was along a kind of similar theme about, the issues in.
Oh, was that Matt that did it?
I don't know. I watched it. I think it was called The Cost of Winning. I can't remember.
No, there was one like that. Because I thought Matt Young did one. It was a short one. It was like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, he talked to people in Norway.
Norway, yes. I saw. I think that's the one that Matt did.
What do you like? So from your movie and all the people you've interviewed and stuff, like, what do you think needs to change?
How we approach it, how we treat kids. Because I don't know how it is over there, but here in America, we treat kids like idiots. And kids are not idiots. Kids are kids, but they're not morons. They know what they want. They know what they like. And if you treat them properly, these kids will give you everything, and they want to play. They want to do everything. And if we don't listen to them, those numbers are going to keep going down and down, and like they have been for most sports. The numbers are going because they're not having any fun. They're not enjoying themselves. And to me, I think there's a misconception of what being competitive doesn't mean that you want to win games. Being competitive is doing the very best you can. Fight for it, give everything you got, and you're just not going to take no for an answer, that kind of thing, right?
Well, that's why, you may have.
And unfortunately, these days, they consider competition is like, we have to win game. Even if we just boot the ball down and score, that's winning the game. And to me, that's not teaching. And coaching is all about teaching.
Yeah, I was chatting to someone earlier today, and we were talking about, one of my pet peeves, right, is labeling things as recreational or competitive. And I'm like, all kids are competitive when you put them in a game in some nature. Like, they're not more competitive or less. Like, everybody wants to win the game, but we have to have this classification of, I think they're confusing. Well, yeah, they're confusing ability with competitiveness.
Yes.
Because I think if you take a group of kids who've never played and say you're going to play 3v3, both teams want to win. And then you take a group of kids that have played a long time, are really good, they want to win too. Like, it just, one looks better than the other. And I think we confuse what competitive really means.
Exactly. That's what I said. I feel the same way. And it drives me nuts. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Because what are we trying to do? Kids are not adults.
No, and I think the thing I've been thinking about a lot is, and I kind of give this analogy to people a lot of the time, right, is with our youth, right, with our 5 to 12-year-olds, like, why don't our clubs look more like the educational system? why aren't they more inclusive? Why isn't everybody getting the same standard, right? And you get the same old argument. It's like, wow, yeah, but my kid's in the elite stream at school. And it's like, no, like if our grade schools ran their schools and treated kids the way our clubs do, there would be like some seriously pissed off people and parents. Yet we seem to think it's okay to run our clubs this way by segregating and it just.
Well, because I saw like so it's basically what you and Will, I saw you guys were bantering on Twitter earlier about color-coded cones or ladders and shit like that. It's just like, because people think that if you do those kind of things, you're a genius.
So do you think the reason that we've done that, or clubs have done that, like, is it primarily so that they can then charge more money to certain groups?
Oh, for sure. No question about it. Not even, I mean, for sure. It's all about money for these clubs, because I have not seen a club that has a lot of people. With, of course, within the club, there are very nice people in them. But unfortunately, I have not met an actual owner of a club that truly gives a shit. When you're talking big, like 50 teams kind of thing, or 60 teams or whatever. I'm not talking like the 2-people team.
It comes to that point, right, where I look at it, is it comes to that point where it crosses over to become a business venture. And don't get me wrong, like, I mean, it's what I do, but it crosses over that threshold at some point where the business interests cannot be aligned with the interest of the child.
Exactly.
You can't run a business model and also, or I haven't seen one yet of any size, where you still put the players first. It just doesn't seem to. They're in, what would you call it? Is it diametric opposition to each other, right? Making as much money as you possibly can from a soccer club and providing the best experience and quality for every kid. I don't see how they can be aligned.
It can't unless you set up the system to be like it is in other countries. But here they'll never do that. But then again, in other countries, coaches at this level make little to no money. So unless they somehow get to work for a top team, they can't make a living. While here, I'm not saying that you're becoming rich by any stretch of the imagination, but you can make a living, decent living. I mean, even a middle class, nice living. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying you're going to be rich, but you can make a decent living. In Europe, you can. In Italy, a lot of these coaches make nothing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've heard of coaches in the US making more money and I'm talking coaches that are just coaching like the average kid, right? They're the director or whatever. They're making more than coaches that are at professional academies in Europe.
And it's ridiculous because they don't know a tenth of what that guy does.
Yeah.
I mean, but because they have a system, they have a knowledge, they have an education, they have an FA, that with all the problems that every single FA has, at least is trying to do something, like Southgate is doing in England, or how in Italy they're trying to change things, or how they did it in Germany after they lost a few years ago the World Cup, and then they rebuilt, and now they're a tremendous team again. Or Spain, when the last 15 years, or France, how they rebuilt after the embarrassing World Cup in 2000, whatever it was, 12, I think it was. 12. So, I mean, but we don't have that here. People don't think like that. You know how it is. It's like the MLS is a problem, relegation, that kind of stuff.
There's a lot of talk about the system not being the way it should be, for being focused on the kids, or I find it there's very, very few people that are willing to go do it differently, that are willing to build something better, are willing to walk away and say, no, I don't believe in that. Like everyone seems to be trying to change the system from within.
Yeah.
When it's just never gonna, it's not gonna change. You are not,
No.
you are not gonna change. I don't think the way a 3,000 player youth club operates.
There's too much money. But that's why I want to, and I know that, you know, in some ways I hope that my movie can give some hope, because that's the idea. The idea is that while I do know that it's kind of naive to think things will change from the top, I do believe it's though if parents wake up and realize, wait a second, eventually we can do something.
I see a huge silver lining in the COVID situation in relation to youth sports. Like, are you coming across that where it's kind of, I know here it's forced people, right? Like, okay, there's no travel soccer and none of this crazy like this. And it's almost, I'm finding the nice thing is everything is now local again. Everything is more focused on training. And there's
not here. Sadly, no. I see it with the kids. The kids have started to be like, I don't want to do it. But the parents are not listening. Because I saw a lot of things on Facebook that are just cringe-worthy. And I talked to people, like, we have to have tournaments. I'm like, huh? We just started playing again like 2 weeks ago. What the hell are you talking about, tournaments? We're going to get killed. Or even worse, hurt. Oh, no, kids don't, it went back here, it went right back to where it was.
Yeah, and I think there was kind of the one camp, right? That was like, all right, this is going to be good. This is our chance to make change. And then, I was part of that camp, right? I was hopeful that this would, and for us, it is because it's been enforced. Like we still have there's really no travel permitted yet. But then, the realistic side of me said, nah, shit's just going to go back to exactly how it was as soon as the opportunity comes. So we missed, so now my club, we missed our spring season.
Yeah.
We missed our fall season. And for me, like, it's been the best thing because it's given everyone a break. We were getting to that point, right, where I think a few of our teams and parents and players were getting to that, the novelty had worn off of being in this league, and maybe they were thinking about, the travel, and we don't do crazy amount of travel, but it's been nice because it's been almost like I kind of wanted to take a bit of a break from that. Mm-hmm. But this has been an enforced break where it wasn't my fault. And I think the nice thing is we focused back on our training, which is good. And now I know as and when the time comes, the enthusiasm level will be higher again. And I've talked to a few people about how do we, as clubs, teams, and then parents as well, right? How do we manage that it's almost like the life cycle, right, of the young player? Because I think a lot of the reason we find a lot of kids drop out young is because we've been doing this travel soccer thing with them since they were 8, 9 years old. So I'm trying to look at within our organization as we go forward is more of a kind of a cycle, right? Where we don't get into this, all right, we're joining the league at 8 years old, and then that's all we're going to do for the next, until you quit, is more a case of, okay, when you get into the 8-year-old category, okay, we go play in this league for a year, and then the next year, we back off of that and we do a couple of events, and then the year after we go back into it, and kind of, I want to even lay that out for the parents so they can see
The progression.
yeah, or just they can see that there's just how we give the kids a break in training right throughout the year. Here, there's going to be a break from the travel part as well. Now, I don't know whether that will work or not, whether everyone will just say, well, I got to be in that, every year, so I'm going to go join another club or team. But I don't know. I think we need to do a better job of managing that kind of players.
Expectations, maybe?
Yeah, or just what they're involved in, right? I think it gets stagnant. It gets overwhelming for the parents. So we'll see. That's my next kind of.
No, I saw. I was like, no, here, unfortunately, I was hoping too. I mean, I was hoping. I didn't believe it would, but I was hoping. But unfortunately, in some ways, it's even worse than before. It's like, I know when COVID hit, I'm not happy that COVID is happening.
Yeah.
But when COVID hit, I was happy that we were forced to stop playing because my kids were fried. I know my son was playing way too much. And I was this close to, without COVID, I would have said, no, we can't do this anymore. You need a break because he loves playing. He wants to play all the time. And so I let him play. But I'm even one of his coaches, but I saw him exhausted. Like he was fried, completely fried. And I even was talking to him. I said, look, I was just thinking about it because we got into a tournament here in town, and I said, you know what? After this tournament, I want you to miss some games. We actually had that conversation because I said, you don't look good, you look tired. No, and I'm even, I'm making this movie too, and I'm thinking, what am I doing myself? Because I know he wants to play. What kid doesn't want to play? But is that the best thing for him?
Well, I think there's a difference, right, in when we talk about, well, when I was growing up, I played 5, 6, 7 days a week, and that you can never play too much. But I think the big difference with that and here is the environment.
Yeah, it's the
6
structure.
days of the week, there was no adults involved in it at all. But here, the 6 days a week, we'll have an adult involved in it somehow all the time.
Yeah.
That's where I see the issue.
Big time. I tell everybody, I didn't have a pair of cleats until I came to the U.S.
I cannot remember. I didn't start playing for a team.
16 years old, the first time I had cleats.
I was 13. And I still, to this day, I cannot remember a single practice session or just don't remember it.
I played every day at school, with my friends, at the park, in the backyard, in the front, wherever the hell we could play. In my classroom.
I remember getting the shit kicked out of me by all the older kids in my neighborhood that were bigger and better than me.
Yeah, I remember we would move the desk in between classes, and we would play like that. And then we had somebody check the teachers were coming. And then as soon as they said the teacher's coming, we would immediately stop playing, put the desk back together, and act like nothing happened.
Yeah, I think it's the amount of instruction and direction we're always giving the younger ones, right? But then again, right, when you get into that, unfortunately, I think that's a product of the pay-to-play model, right? Is as a coach, if I'm paid, I have to justify my pay. And if I'm just saying, okay, kids, play, that to a parent or whoever's paying doesn't justify it, right? So then now everything's got to be structured and it has to have.
But I think it's how you do it, because I do believe that there is a way to work with the parents because I do believe, I would like to believe that most parents are good people. and they do want the best for their child. Because if we don't, then the world is even more fucked up than I thought.
I think we just got to do a better job of explaining to the parents what
I
it
think
what it
that
what it
is
should
such a
look
problem.
like and why it's beneficial to them.
And what are we trying to do? Because like with the new girls, I told them immediately, hey, if you want somebody that yells at your child, leave. Because I'm not going to do that. Because I believe that you can learn more from a game than from cones. Yesterday we played a game, and for basically half an hour, the kids were shooting on goal. But they didn't take it as that. They took it as we're playing a game. But for 30 minutes, all they did was take a ball and shoot. I didn't label it as a shooting drill, but that's all they did. And it's like, for me, but they were having fun. They were yelling and screaming, celebrating, all of those things, right? To me, that's like, you can teach the same things, or better probably, if you do different things. Like do a game, play a game. You don't have to even just say go play. Just structure it in a way that you look like a coach, and then the girls are having fun anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of been I'm on a kick at the moment to try and figure out if I can take every single activity we do, and can you coach it within a game?
You probably can. I mean, perfect example was on my son's practice on Wednesday night. The head coach, is setting up 2 rondos basically, opposite each other. I think it was like 10 on one side, 10 on the other side, right? You need to go? Oh. So within that run, there was, I think it was 6 on the outside, 4 on the inside. And, and they were going. And then when the guys on the inside would get the ball, the idea was for them to have those 4 kids in the middle, do a rondo. And then one of the outer kids would jump in and try to get the ball. And once he gets the ball, then he passes it to the outside. And then they start the whole thing again. He was telling the kids, you go in, you go over there, now move over there, right? All of those. It's like the whole point of a rondo, if you're going to go with that type of structure, is not to tell them what to do. Let them figure it out. So he took 10, I took 10. And I started with the kids. I told, okay, because he wanted me to say, you have to tell them. I was like, okay, fine. Because I didn't want to, I'm the assistant coach. I don't want to start a fight in front of the kids. But very quickly, the kids started, because I wasn't so loud and I purposely started to be quieter. All of a sudden, the kids say, hey, coach, I'll go in. I'm like, perfect. It's in a game, you don't have time for the coach to say, hey, Bob, you go cover, or you go in. You don't have time to do that. So it was awesome to see the kids themselves. They say, I'm closer, I'll jump in, right, into the middle rondo. The head coach turns around, starts almost cussing me out, saying how horrible that I don't listen to his directions, and I need to tell them what to do. And I look at him and said, why? I said, they were doing exactly what you asked, but they were doing it themselves. But he got mad at me because he said, that's not what I asked you to do. And I'm like, they did the same exercise you were doing. I wasn't yelling, you were. That was the only difference. But he was like so obsessed that you have to tell them what to do. And I was just like, wait a second, but how are they going to learn?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times that we want to hear our own voice, right?
Yeah, and I don't. My voice is not that spectacular, so I don't want to hear my own voice. So it's like, I don't need to, but I want them to get better.
Yeah, I've come to the conclusion that it's better for me to get any game activity going quickly and add an instruction or a rule as they go versus giving them a 5-minute lecture explaining everything. it's far better for me to just get it going with 4v4 play. And
because I think you can do more things. I feel like you can do a lot more.
And then if you want to add sideline neutrals, right, you pull 2 players out of the game rather than, all right, I think that's if we less instruction and let them try and help them or give them ideas on the solution as you go along. I find a lot of new kids that come to us, we'll give them a very simple, like 2 attackers versus 1 defender. Can you get the ball in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
Literally, it's like, okay, you 2 get the ball in the end zone without him getting it. And a lot of the players we come across, there's 20 different questions, right? Because they're so used to having everything detailed out. And I'm almost the opposite end. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you anything. If you get the ball in there, you score a point. Were we allowed to do this? Up to you.
That's what I tried to do.
Can I dribble it in there? Will the ball be in the end zone? Yeah. Okay. Can I pass it into him in there? Will the ball end up in the end zone? Yep. You get a point for that too. Keep them coming. I like these ideas, right? And a lot of the time we over-prescribe, right?
I know. Last night I was doing the shooting drill game, and my goalie, one of the girls touched the ball a little too far. The goalie came out and grabbed the ball, and everybody was screaming. But the goalie is, she didn't get a chance to shoot. And I said, did I ever say the goalie couldn't come out?
Yeah.
And they were like, but you didn't say that he could.
Didn't say he couldn't.
I didn't say he couldn't. He saw the opportunity, he took it. You girls should have had a better touch and you would have shot. But you could see like they were getting frustrated because I hadn't said it. It's like, well, I didn't say you couldn't.
Yeah, as long as it's
I mean, he didn't take a gun and shot her.
As long as it's not a rule of soccer, right? Like,
I mean, it's in a game, the goalie's gonna come out sometimes. The goalie's not just gonna sit there and wait for you to score. I mean, it would be nice if that happened, but that's not gonna happen. Oh my goodness, yes, it's. I think it's always one thing that bothers me a lot is too many coaches don't want to learn new things.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, we get stuck in that one camp, right? It's like no, I believe this is the only way it can be done.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And that's where I think more of us need to, like you said, right, share. I'm always like, if you can show me a better way of doing it, I want to see it.
That's how I say it.
You know what I mean? Like, I coach what I know, and what I know works best for me. But if you can show me a better way of doing it, please go ahead. I'm still trying to figure out what is the best way to try and teach, young beginner players. What's the best way to teach them the technique of using the inside of their foot when they pass? Still, 6, 7, 8 years later, I'm still trying to figure that out. And the one thing I've come to the conclusion is, it's never the same for any 2 kids. Some kids I can show them, right? I'll show them and I'll give them this technique of doing it and they get it. Some kids, I'll show them the same thing. They don't get it. Some kids, by just putting them in more and more, rondo type activities where there's more and more passing, that works for some players. But if anyone's got the answer to that, like,
I don't think there is, because we don't know 2 people learn the same way.
No, and
some people are visual.
It's frustrating because I'm a very like systems orientated person. Like, once I find a way that works, but I think
but you can't.
That's one of the things. You need as many different tools as possible. Like, I remember for the longest time, when I first started out coaching, it was always that, no, you got to pass it with the inside of your foot. Unless you pass it with the inside of your foot, it doesn't count. And then I just gave up. I'm like, what is this 5, 6-year-old just can't do it. And why am I only encouraging one way of doing it? So if you want to pass it with your toe and you get the result, then great. If you want to pass with the laces, excellent. Why am I not encouraging more exploration and then sort of saying, okay, out of all those different methods you tried, which one do you think worked the best? Oh, the inside of the foot. Okay, why? And then can you do it again? But I was so stuck for that longest time that no, you got to do it this way.
Yep.
And and then I ran into one girl that she could not pass it with the inside of her foot to save her life. And then one day she just like played this absolutely stunningly good pass with the outside of her foot. And I was like, wow. I'm like, that was really good. I'm like, can you do that again? She did it again. I'm like, do that.
Do that.
That's working for you. Excellent. If you learn you'll get the inside of the foot later, but that's fantastic. Keep doing that.
But what you're saying is huge, because so many coaches don't let that happen. And I see that with my son's team, that the coach does not let them do that. And those are the kind of things that long term makes a difference, because now you're taking away their creativity, you're taking away their thought process. I ran a session for them, and the kids were getting it, but they were kind of not quite there. So I said, okay, let me explain it to you like this. We were working on defense and levels, who goes first, to pressure, that kind of stuff. So if the ball is by the forwards, who goes first? If we're playing with two up front, if you go in the middle, who's gonna go first? And if you go to that's how we were working on. And so they were getting it, but it was quite not there. So I know that these kids are very smart, very, very brainy. And so I said, okay, think of it as a math equation. When you have the equation, do you just get to the end, to the final result? And they go, no, coach, of course not. You go in steps. And I look at them and I smile. I said, exactly. And you could see the light bulb. They go, oh, said, these are the steps. When the ball is here, these are the steps. When the ball is there, those are the steps. I was being generic. We weren't going into some super complicated tactical thing. I was very much like, the ball is here, you're closer, you go get the ball. That's basically what it was. Because one of the mistakes my son's team does is, if the ball passes their line, they stop moving. Well, now it's the midfielders. And if the midfielders lose the ball,
coaches, right? Though, like you're saying, like there's a lot of coaches that are still, they're just coaching the way they've always coached. They haven't. Like, I look back on some of the shit I used to do, and it's so different to what I think today.
But you're willing to learn, and that's what I'm talking about. Because so many coaches do not want to learn. They said, "That's how I learn." We're gonna run for 10 minutes. We're gonna stretch for another 10 minutes, and I'm like, "What the hell? We just wasted 20 minutes." Why are we doing it? Well, you have to run. No, you don't. Running around the field like an idiot.
The one kind of depressing thing that I came to the realization about 6-7 months ago, right, was this is never going to be over.
No.
I'm never going to, it's kind of a sobering thought, right? Like, I look at what I thought 10 years ago, what I thought 5 years ago, and how much of what I thought, like if I was having a discussion with old me, like it would not go well. That guy would be an idiot. If like what I used to think. And then am I projecting that to the future, right? And like, maybe it won't be as, maybe 10 years from me now won't be as bad as 10 years ago, but it's almost like, you are never going to, this journey will never end. It's not like you're becoming a carpenter to be able to build a good table. And eventually you're just like, okay, I can build a really good table. Now I just got to build more of them. It's never going to be done, ever.
And you could be winning the World Cup with one team, and you may be fired on the next team.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same, because it's so fickle.
Every set of players you get is going to be different. The game will change.
And you need to adapt. It's like so many
change. We'll learn new stuff. But yeah, that was kind of a sobering thought when I'm like, shit, I'm never going to master this. There's no end point. I'm never going to get to the point where I'm just like, okay, I know how to coach 5 to 9-year-olds. I've got it. I've got the system. And if I do this, 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 and this, it will produce this. Nope, never going to work that way.
Not long term. But you know what? I think it was Spielberg one time said, or at least one of those big film guys, he said, the day I stop learning is the day I stop doing what I'm doing. And I always thought, I was like, that was genius, because that means that you don't care anymore. You don't want to get better. You don't want to improve. You don't want to find a new way. You don't want to find a new style. You always trying to be better for the kids or whoever you're coaching. That's how I look at it. I always want to get better, because I always can find what I'm doing wrong, and I don't want to do it wrong. But then you go, well, what is wrong? And you can be very philosophical about it if you get caught into the weeds of it. I am there. I mean, I think, therefore I am. No. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you gotta, I just did a course, the MVP school in Spain?
I've heard about that. I heard Scott.
And I just finished the course. And
everybody I've heard speaks very highly of them.
Oh, they're a great school. I actually have to resubmit my thesis, and this week has been nuts. I haven't had a chance to even look at it again. Oh my God, I learned so much in just doing that class. I was just like, whoa, all these things I had no idea about. I had concepts of it, but not at that level. I was like, oh my God, now it ruined my game for me. It ruined soccer for me, because now I'm looking at who's going who, where, defending, covers and structures and all of that. I'm just like, wow, all of those things I had never noticed. At least not consciously noticed. You know what I mean?
I like it when you come across people or that just get you to think in a completely different way to how you've always thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, because there's a difference between...
And again, right, as part of that humbling experience, it just completely shatters everything you thought you knew. And you're like, what have I been doing for the last 5 years?
Well, but I think it's because we have to realize there's a difference between watching the game as a fan and watching the game as a coach. It's not the same thing.
I think maybe because I'm much more immersed in the youth grassroots, and that's where my interest really starts to fade as soon as you get to 11v11. So I still when I watch 11v11, that on professional game, I think I still watch it as a little, like, just I enjoy it. I don't really analyze it too much, and I've never got into that part of it for some reason. It's just
never float.
No, and I have no real desire to, whether that's, I guess, part of being happy, right, is knowing what you want and what you want to be good at. I don't really aspire to be the 11v11 tactical genius. Like I'm really just I'm so focused on, like, I want to be the 3v3 5v5 genius. I just want to be as good as I can at coaching 3v3 and 5v5. Like that's
so for me, I took that course
from that.
I took that course not because I'm going to do that either. but I took the course because I really wanted to learn how to see the game better.
Yeah.
That's why I did it, because I really wanted to learn how to see things.
Yeah, I haven't and who knows, it may change down the road, but I just haven't got that.
Yeah, but you've coached for a lot longer than I have, so that's probably, you know, a lot more than I do. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, I almost think that a lot of that stuff isn't as applicable, right? I kind of see it in a way as a benefit to me, not knowing about that higher level tactical stuff, because I don't try and bring that to the little kids' game.
No, I can see that. For me, it was more like I actually found it liberating.
Yeah, I'll probably be the guy that when I'm like 65, I'll go do my UEFA A license just because I'm like, I got nothing else to do. I'm pretty decent at youth grassroots. I'll go get my UEFA A now just before I die, right? Just it'll be of zero use to me. But
yeah, let me spend $10,000 for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, that will be me for sure.
I think we'll do it together then.
Yeah, I'll be on the UEFA A license asking these guys. Yeah, but do you know how to coach 4-year-olds 3v3? That's where the
challenge is. It's the 4-year-olds that we get
you. Think you know, but wait till you coach 5-year-olds.
Yeah, you think Messi's difficult?
Yeah.
Oh man! All right, I unfortunately have to let you go. I have to take the kids somewhere.
Yeah, thanks for the chat, Franco. We have to do this again. This was I really didn't know what to expect from your film icon thing on Twitter. I've been following you, so this was I was not expecting Italian Franco in Vegas. So,
well, there you go. Now you know.
Thanks for the chat. We'll catch up later. I'll definitely do this again.
Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries, Franco. Have a great weekend. All right.
You too, man. Talk soon. Cheers.